All right. Well, good evening, everybody. This is the meeting of the Cable TV Advisory Committee, our meeting on Monday, December 14th. And per regulation of the state, I must start this meeting with a statement from the governor. And I'm sure the governor would be happy if I could see it. There we go. So, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the North Andover, this is the wrong one, but Cable Advisory Committee will be conducted via remote participation for members of the public. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website, and that's at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so on their televisions by tuning to Comcast Channel 99 or Verizon Channel 28, or online at www.northandovercam.org. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time, via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of North Andover website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So there we go. That is the governor's statement. With that, we are calling the meeting to order. First item on the agenda, we're going to have a little difficulty with, but is review of the previous minutes meetings. Thanks to Brian, who typed those up earlier. I'm going to get those to the town to put on town letterhead, along with the minutes from this meeting, and then we will vote on those on the next meeting. All right. Next item is any review of the questions for attorney Alan Mandel, who we will be speaking with at 5:30. I have the list of questions that we used the last time with Attorney Hewig. I thought I would just kind of use those again. As you might have noticed when we talked to Mr. Hewig, I changed some of the sequence of these based on answers he had given. So I probably do the same thing based on what Alan Mandel says. It will kind of determine which questions I ask and which I may leave to the side. But are you guys, Shanita, Paul, are you okay with my going through this the same way? Just kind of going through the list of questions. And then when that is done, I will ask you guys to come in with any other questions you may have.
Certainly.
Paul? Okay, Paul, you're nodding yes?
Ron, was there any follow-up with the presentation from the last attorney we interviewed? He said something about it? No.
No, there was not. We haven't. What we'll probably do, and that's kind of one of the things I'm going to check with you guys at the end of the meeting, is the next thing we do is probably schedule another meeting, at which point we'll approve the old minutes, and then we'll probably very quickly go into executive session, so we can, with all candor, discuss our impressions of the two attorneys. So that will allow us to speak without a town audience.
I think you have executive session on this meeting too, right? Wasn't that on the agenda?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's fine. We can have it. I don't know what we'll do with it, but we can have it. I almost don't want to discuss it unless we get Shane and Bill on as well. But we can get to that.
So
Brian,
you have the option. You can adjourn this meeting to go to executive session, not to return to open session, if you want to go that route.
Yeah.
Brian, is this meeting recorded too?
Yes, all meetings are. Yes. This is recorded and live.
Okay. So do you guys want me to run through the questions that I have for Alan Mandel?
Do you not to put anybody on the spot, but do you want to introduce John or have it?
I
John?
do. And John, my apologies. You guys can, those of you who can see the screen, um, one of those friendly faces is John Highland. John is the new IT director for the town. I will let John introduce himself, but I will preface it by saying that nobody is happier to see John in this role than I am, given the fact that I rode Matt, and I forget Matt's last name already, and then Chris McClure's coattails. What's that?
It was Matt Killen.
Matt Killen, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I kind of let them do all the heavy lifting for a few years. So I'm delighted to have John, and no doubt it'll be a great help to me. But John, do you want to spend a few minutes introducing yourself?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, thank you everyone for inviting me to this, my first cable access executive meeting. So hopefully this is one of many, and I'm glad to be with the town. Today is exactly, well, I've been here a week now. So today is day 5.5 really. So I'm glad to be here, and that's really my introduction.
That's great. Well, let me help you. Where were you before?
Oh, prior to working here, I worked for the Bridgewell organization based in Peabody. We did that for almost 8 years. Prior to that, I worked for the city of Chelsea in Chelsea, Mass, for almost 10 years.
Okay.
So I've been municipal for a while.
Good, excellent. Well, we are delighted to have you. The obviously have you done one of these cable contracts before?
No, not really. No.
All right. So again, a key to this is, it's very important that the town be involved, because the key to this is capital for the town. And so I know that there was concern on the part of the town folks that we needed the representation of town IT to make sure that we had the right kind of requests for the town and the right kind of ascertainment being done. So it is, delighted to have you taking the lead on that when that time comes.
Cool. And Brian was kind enough to give me a tour of the facilities today. So it was great to see his office and what we have in the Board of Selectmen room here at Town Hall. So that was
and you were going around to all your different departments. You met with Mike Grant at the school department, who would also contribute to the capital requests as that. So we represent both government, public, and education when the time for ascertainment comes.
Exactly, both sides.
All right. So do you folks want me to go through the questions, or do you just want to be surprised? Or just want to sing Christmas carols?
It's the same questions like last time, right?
Yeah, it's basically, I just pulled the same list out. Yeah. All right.
Is that something that you can share with John so he can see the question, or no?
Yes. Well, I can share them by reading them to him. If you want me to put them on something, you are taxing any technical capability that I may possess. So the answer, I guess, would be no.
I guess you'll know when you read them.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll go through them quickly. So questions on our. I'm going to get my glasses on again so I can see them. What do you see for Verizon's position on the upcoming contracts? Are they offering anything different in the last couple of years? We do not see any renewals longer than 5 years for Verizon, but Comcast is still doing it 10 years. It appears that many of the Verizon contracts have passed expiration date. Is this correct? This is my favorite question. What is the point in a long negotiation if Verizon is just going to dictate the terms? Would it be easier and less costly to extend the terms of the existing contract? Thank you, Paul. That was a great one. We would like to consider an increase from 4% to 5%, but expect it would have to be stepped contract to match Comcast renewal. Do you think Verizon would agree to that provision? Have you reviewed North Andover's current contract? Is there anything you suggest we change? What can you provide North Andover that we should pick you over the other attorneys? This one's for Alan only. I don't see your name on any of the other towns' Verizon contracts. Have you done any contracts with Verizon in Massachusetts? And is Verizon staying in the cable business or moving to unregulated kind of broadcasting as defined by the Telecommunications Act 5G? So that's the list. Now, as we did with the other attorney, again, based on some of the answers they gave, I kind of skipped around a bit, so they flowed a little bit. I'll probably do the same thing here. So, and Bill just joined us.
Bill.
You there, Bill? Bill Diadamo.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You there, Bill? He's muted. You're muted, Bill.
*6 if you're on a phone, but it doesn't look like he's on a phone. So.
Okay.
I would, if it's okay with the committee, I would suggest at least rolling into executive session, even for a brief time at the end of the meeting, just so that we can you have the option to come up with a plan, going forward, but just in executive session.
No, that's a good suggestion.
I do agree.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm with an organization that we basically have an executive session every meeting, though sometimes we don't use it. So we go into it and we go out of it. It is always on the agenda. So, all right, we will do that. All right, we have 13 minutes for the phone call to Alan. Is there anything else folks want to discuss before we do that?
Have we gotten proposals from either attorney?
We had a proposal from Alan Mandel. I have not seen one from Hewig. You haven't seen the proposal, Paul?
No, I haven't seen anything.
All right. Well, let me make a note of that. I don't know how that was distributed.
I did not get anything either. I was going to ask the same question.
All right. Well, that's my to-do. I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Make sure
and
you
I
guys
guess the
get
question is, how can we distribute that? So.
Yes, therein lies a very good question.
I think you have this, I believe, check with Suzanne, but you have the CAC Google folder that's on the town drive. So I'm assuming, I don't know if it's executive information still or executive session information still, if there's another place to put it. But you can check with Suzanne on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a proposal that I would want to make available generally. So,
if you guys dry up on questions at the moment, you guys maybe can do a round robin for John's sake and introduce yourselves and backgrounds and all that kind of stuff.
All right, let's do that. Let's do last in, first out, the old LIFO method. That would make Bill, you're first. Go for it.
I'm sorry, can you jump for 1 second to next person? I'll be right back with you.
Okay, Shanita. Yeah, no problem. Shanita, you want to introduce yourself?
Certainly, Shanita O'Rose, and I am currently a teacher at the school in Andover, but I worked for a cable company in marketing for 12 years. That's why I volunteer to work for the cable advisory.
Paul?
Yeah, I'm Paul Blinn. Welcome, John. I work as an operations manager at a manufacturing site, and I've been with the cable committee now for, I think, about 5 or 6 years. So I went through the entire Verizon renewal, but I haven't been involved with the Comcast work.
Nice to meet you too.
Bill, you all set?
Yeah, sorry about that. Just something went a little sideways for a moment. Yeah, I'm Bill Diadamo. I am actually brand new to this committee and still trying to figure out which way is up exactly. My background is that I am a lawyer, and I'm primarily, the backbone of my practice is trial work, but I have done a number of negotiations over any number of issues. Nothing, never specifically cable contract, but many things that are not dissimilar. So hopefully it will be of some use. That's all.
Okay, and I'm Ron Fagan. I have been on the committee for a long time now. I couldn't even tell you how long. So I've done a couple of Comcast contracts, a couple of Verizon contracts now. Looking forward to doing another one, I guess. And you know, again, I think as some of the folks have said, I have to thank Shane, who's not on this call, but for kind of bringing it to my attention a while back, was that it's a really interesting time to be doing this, because there is the kind of chance that Verizon decides that 5G is the way they're going to go. And so it will make their position on these issues much different than it otherwise might be. So the difference in kind of negotiating the first Verizon contract and negotiating the second Verizon contract was quite large. And I anticipate that, you know, this will happen again, that the way one organization negotiates and the way the other organization negotiates is going to continue to be quite different. So it does lead to some interesting discussions.
And Shane is has a big IT background, right? Do you remember what he does exactly?
Well, he's a CIO right now, I think. I think that's what I last saw. But I don't know where he's situated at this point, but I believe he's a CIO. So yeah, he's kind of our go-to technical guy.
And I'm Brian Fraser, Executive Director of the TV station. John, I met you earlier, but Bill, I don't know if we went into detail on my background, so I'll go through it a little bit. But I've been here with the station for over 10 years now. And we've grown the business here. And my background was broadcast lighting. So I did a lot of the lighting for the TV stations all around the state in upstate New York and that type of stuff. So I did, and then before that I was, you know, corporate video. And so I've kind of done all levels. I've done corporate video, broadcast, film, and now I've been here in North Andover for a number of years.
Great, thank you.
All right. Well, I think we've got about 7 minutes. I've got nothing else to keep us occupied for 7 minutes. So if people want to stretch their legs or sing a song, go ahead. I'm going to start typing up some things, one for my own use and two, just so I have some record of the meeting.
Do we, is it inappropriate to try and reach out to him early, or you just wait until 5?
I don't think it's inappropriate. Let's try it.
Ron, no Shane today?
Apparently not.
You know what? I don't think I have the call out option. It might have to be John, because last time I scheduled the meeting. Hang on, I'll send you the email. You might have to reach out. Hopefully you get some comfort in cold calling people.
All right, and you've got the number, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stand by. But you know what I don't have is, I have his email, but it doesn't auto populate because I haven't sent him enough emails yet. So hang on. I know the naming scheme. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm going to send it. Ron, just confirm his name for John, his full name.
Do you want me to confirm his name for John?
Well, just tell him his full name. I don't have it in writing near me, so.
Okay. First name Alan,
Alan.
and last name is Mandel, Mandl.
Look at that. We just burnt like 3 minutes trying to. Whatever. So,
I have his law firm name here, which I will probably
and
really mess up the pronunciation on.
Just to confirm, I'm calling Alan Mendel, the number you gave me, Brian, and inviting him to this Google Meet.
Correct.
And sending him the invite information.
No,
So he can do
no. So the reason why we call out is because as soon as we hang up, he can't get back in the meeting. So this is how the town typically reaches out to outside participants from the board.
So what am I giving him? Just the phone number?
No, you're gonna call. You have to call. I can't do it because I don't have the controls. Unless you can make me an admin somehow.
Meaning conference in. Am I right? He's conferencing in.
We have to call him in. We have to call him into the call, into the Google Meet. So if you put up your sidebar of attendees, there should be a add person button.
Yes, add people.
Yep, and then there should be a call, and then you can type it. You can type in the number, and then it'll call, and you should probably say hello and before, but he should be able to talk to all of us.
Find out.
Hello.
Alan, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. This is Ron Fagan. How are you?
Good. Good. Hi, Ron.
So first of all, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. And thanks for coming on. Looks like 2 minutes early. Appreciate that too. So do I understand you're down in Wayland?
I am in Wayland. I've been here for 26 years. Yeah.
Interesting. I was born and raised in Wayland.
Yeah, I understand you went to the high school.
Proud graduate of Wayland High School, and I also have to say that I go down there a lot because my mother's still down there, and there's no more to do in Wayland than there was when I was growing up there in the 70s. It's amazing. Other than that, it's a great place.
Sounds about right. Yeah, my daughter went to Wayland High. Yeah, she enjoyed it.
Excellent. So we have members of the committee on. Let me tell you who is on the call. There are 4 of us on the committee. There's myself. There's Paul Blinn. There's Bill Diadamo and Shanita Arose. We also have Brian Frazier, who is the North Andover CAM director, and John Highland, who is the new IT director of North Andover.
Great. Great.
And Alan is, I'm going to mess the pronunciation up on this, Alan. Your law firm is Ferreter, Scabo, and Rodofile?
Ferreter, Scobo, and Rodafiel.
I had 2 out of 3. Okay. All right. So we thought maybe the best way to do this is, maybe you could kind of tell us a little bit about, your practice, your kind of background with doing these kinds of cable negotiations for towns. And then after that, we can just I'll pose some questions to you on behalf of the group. And then I'll open it up for questions anybody else may have.
Okay, sure. Yeah, my background in regulated industry started in the Mass Attorney General's office. I was in the utilities division where we dealt with gas, electric, and telephone utilities, typically rate cases and financings. And I eventually became the head of that division. And then when our second child was born, it was time to leave the public sector. So I went into the private sector, was working on a number of different things, some energy related. I started to develop a telecom practice, which initially involved public sector clients. The state itself is a telephone consumer. I did some work for Massport and for the city of Somerville. And I began to get involved in the cable industry in the 1990s. My background is going to be different than some of the other people you may be talking to, in that I started out on the industry side. I worked for the cable industry on a number of things, rate making, basic service rate making, whole attachment disputes with the utilities, and then gradually the work shifted over into franchising. I represented Cox Communications for a number of years. I did their renewals in Massachusetts. It was just one community, but it was 2004 and 2014. And back in 2004, the town was so pleased with us that when the renewal license was signed, they presented us with a cake. So it doesn't happen very often. I also did franchising work for Cox in Rhode Island under their state agency franchising model when they moved into a new service area, and also when they were defending their turf against Verizon, that there were proceedings like that. I represented the Cable Association in Connecticut and Vermont in connection with municipal overbuilds of existing cable systems. And in 2011, I joined the Newton Law Department, and my cable representation shifted from the private side to the public side. I was involved in Newton's 2012 Comcast renewal. More recently, we had a combined renewal proceeding involving RCN, Verizon, and Comcast, which concluded in 2017 with 3 new cable licenses. And Verizon, which signed a 5-year license, is now back in Newton in the renewal process. And I've been working on that one. And so the cable work is now all municipal. And in private practice, I've been doing work on the municipal public power side. I've been doing some work for municipalities on telecom issues, and I've done a significant amount of wireless siting on behalf of a municipal client. So that's been the mix so far. I've been at Periscope for about 3 years, and that's kind of where things are at present. I spent a number of years at another firm where we did lots of work for municipal utilities, municipal light plants. So, throughout my time, I've always had fairly extensive involvement with municipal officials. Like I said, my background is going to be different than those of some other attorneys I know who deal with municipal cable franchising, but that's pretty much my background.
Ron, you're muted.
Yeah, I was muted. I'm sorry.
$5.
Yeah. So Alan, you've been first of all, thank you very much for the background. And again, I got that you have been involved with representing municipality negotiating with Verizon.
Yes, that's right.
So what do you see it with the way kind of Verizon's position is on contracts these days?
So, and just to make sure we're clear, we're televising live and we are open to the public differently than an open meeting. It is definitely televised the whole time. So just want to make sure you guys are aware of that.
All right, thank you. What was the question regarding Verizon?
The question was, what kind of approach do you see them taking to upcoming contracts?
Well, to be candid, what they will do is they've done it already. They sent in their letter, which they're required to do under federal law, just signifying their interest in renewing. What their pattern has been is simply doing nothing for as long as they can. They're not going to proactively do anything, so it puts the ball in the court of the municipality, in this case, a cable advisory committee, to figure out how it wants to proceed. Verizon typically doesn't attend ascertainment hearings, as you probably saw from the last renewal in 2018, they have their own way of doing things. They, unlike Comcast, Verizon claims its rights in the public ways based on its status as a telecommunications service provider. So you'll see a lot of verbiage in the Comcast license that Verizon claims is unnecessary, and because they have those obligations outside of the cable franchise. But as far as the rest of it, I mean, they're looking for 5-year licenses, as they have been before. The ones they've done recently have been 5-year licenses. The franchise fee is all over the lot. Just a month ago, they entered into a new franchise agreement in Woburn, which was 5%. Back in 2005, it was 4.25%. But even looking at more,
Sorry about that. All right. So I'm sorry. I'm waiting for phones to stop ringing here. I'm in the nerve center right here, and there's phones all over the place.
okay.
So you said that Verizon was doing 5-year contracts. Do you have any kind of idea why they have been so adamant about going with the 5-year contract as opposed to a longer contract?
I can speculate. My speculation is that Verizon does not want to be in the cable business. It's in the cable business because it needs to be in order to compete with Comcast. But should there be if you will, an alternative to enable a business model alternative that enables them to compete with Comcast and not be a cable operator, they will gravitate toward that. I don't think right now they consider streaming to be a viable option. It's got to come up from high up in management structure that what they try to do is create a license that enables them to escape if the opportunity presents itself. That's as best I can describe it. I mean, it's not very practical for anyone, to begin a renewal cycle 2 years after you sign a license. Yeah, I mean, it's not convenient for municipalities or actually for Verizon itself. But so there has to be a business motive of wanting to enable themselves to get out of the license, basically with 3 years notice if the opportunity presents itself.
Okay. So interesting comment. That I appreciate you doing the speculation that they don't see streaming as the preferred mode of operation for them. And I would assume that if they decided that they were going to switch their telecommunications to 5G and use 5G to send video, would they, I guess they'd consider that streaming, and then that may not be their preferred choice.
Yeah, I mean that's a bit of a wild card. Verizon is offering, or has begun to offer, a fixed wireless service. Whether that would take the place of cable, we don't know. It's an offering; they'll put it out there, and it's unclear how far they'll get with it.
So our current contracts call for a 4% fee to the town. We're looking to up that to the 5%, which I believe is the maximum we are permitted to ask for. However,
Right.
our contracts are not in sync, so we would have to have a stepped approach to this. Do you think Verizon would agree to doing that with us?
I think it's worth a shot. I mean, there are franchise agreement terms which provide for trying to achieve consistency between the cable operators. So if maybe a question of when the 5% kicks in. There are a number of different ways to approach it. One is have a Comcast license coming up. Lag the Verizon. It could be if they pay 5%, we will too. One of those things. There are different ways of phrasing it. But you've identified an issue, just trying to get these things in sync.
Okay. Have you taken a look at our current contract with Verizon?
I did. I looked at it a while ago, I think when I first started talking to the town, and I sent Suzanne Egan and I think maybe someone who was in the IT department some initial thoughts on the existing license. Just maybe ways to approach it. I think in the proposal I sent over, that probably reflects what that analysis was.
Okay.
I mean, essentially, it's trying to keep fees down. It just requires kind of a focused approach. There's some what I would call core things that need to be done. Creating a template for a renewal license. Just agreeing on what you think the main issues are that need to be addressed. One is the franchise fee. Another is the amount of capital that you want, and the structuring of the payments. Should it be front loaded? Should it be the same each year? You may get some attempt to tie part of the capital to a per subscriber amount or a percentage of revenue amount, which creates some definite risks. So if you can get just a plain dollar amount, that would be best. The last license, it's relatively new. It's 2018, and from looking at licenses that Verizon has executed since then, it's pretty much in the same ballpark. It's not like they've changed a lot. I think the last go round, they began to offer one HD channel for public access. That's certainly another issue if the town wants to, seek an additional HD PEG access channel. But for the most part, I think you can rely upon the existing license for what we might call boilerplate. and focus on what you think the most important issues are.
So given that they seem to want to be in this business on a shorter term basis, what kind of negotiation can you have with them? I mean, our experience was that they did not introduce a lot of flexibility into the discussion. Are they somebody we can negotiate with? And again, I'll ask you to couch the answer a little bit since this is a public forum. But just if you can, how do you approach an organization like this?
Well, I'll say that Verizon has frustrated a number of communities. They're not easy to deal with. They tend to, if you let them, they will try to protract things. Many times, good faith attempts to talk to them are not productive. They end up with people spending more time, incurring more expense without anything really to show for it. I went through that experience in Newton in 2017. It's extremely frustrating. But being in house, it didn't cause an expense issue. But what I can say is a very focused approach. You're not asking for the moon and the stars. They're given 5% extra. When you have your ascertainment hearing, it will be on the town and the advisory committee and the public access organization to justify the need for a 5% franchise fee and to justify a capital request. To the extent there are differences between a prospective Verizon license and an existing Comcast license, part of that's a function of Verizon wanting a 5-year term. But having said that, there'll be some, that might be called level playing field issues that they're going to raise. A concern that they now have obligations of the materially different than those that Comcast has. But part of that is their own making. And so the ascertainment process will go forward, and it'll be based on a case that the town puts together through its approach to ascertainment. If it wants to do a survey, it can do a survey. If it wants a letter writing campaign from residents to support public access with a need for 5%. That's going on in Wayland right now in a Comcast renewal. And I am on the public access board in Wayland, so I'm familiar with that process. And the best you can do is come up with a strong ascertainment record and establish what the town's needs and interests are. And Verizon doesn't step up. You have the right to issue a preliminary denial. It's not the desired outcome, but it's not unheard of for that to happen.
Have you seen that happen a bit? Have towns issued those kind of temporary denials? I'm not aware of that, but I wouldn't know.
I haven't seen it as to Verizon, but I haven't looked. I know it's happened frequently with Comcast, and it just is looked upon as an opportunity to continue the conversation. It's not the desired outcome for anyone, only because it takes more time and can result in more cost. And at the end of the day, it's probably not worth incurring expenses to fight over, frankly.
Yeah.
But
So you've been on all, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Now you've been on, all kind of sides of this thing between, municipalities, the private side. Your background, does it provide an advantage to us that, the more traditional telecommunications attorneys have?
I thought about that. If the renewal goes the way you would like it to go, I think you'll come out in the same place. I know several attorneys who do cable franchising work. Most are very competent and would do a good job for the town. I have no question about that. But so it's really I can't say that there's any great advantage in what I would call a typical renewal.
Okay. And so my last question is, what question should I have asked you that I didn't know I should ask you?
I can't think of one offhand. I know one of the issues that you have to deal with is budget. And, I know that some other attorneys who do this work have a lower hourly rate than I do. That's just, it is what it is, as they say. That's my main concern, and being considered. I think it just makes your choice. If it can affect your choices.
All right. Well, thank you. Let me ask the rest of the committee, or Brian or John, if they have questions they'd like to ask you. So I'll open it up. Bill shaking his head no. And anybody who asks a question while they're still on mute has to contribute $5 to the I left myself on mute fund. We have established that. Any questions from the rest of the group? Okay, I'm being met with resounding silence. All right, so I will take that to be known. Alan, listen, thank you very much. First of all, again, thank you for flexibility. I apologize for the false alarm before, and I really appreciated the way you forgave us for doing that. And I thank you for taking your time this evening to meet with us.
Okay, well, thanks for inviting me.
All right, thank you. And say hi to Wayland for me.
I will.
All right, thanks.
Take care.
All right, you too. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, that is it. Now, the next thing on the agenda is moving to executive session. Is there anything anybody wants to add in the public part of this meeting before we close the public part of the meeting and move to executive session? You see shaking heads.
No, all set.
Okay.
All set.
All right, so with that then, do I hear a motion to close the public part of the meeting?
Motion to close the public part of the meeting.
Thank you, Bill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor of closing?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, very good. The public portion of the meeting is now closed. I will ask NACAM to take us off of the live feed, and then we will just meet internally.
We should, if I can, sorry, a little procedure, probably makes
Yeah.
sense to have a vote to go into executive session.
Okay, that's fine. I can do that. Do I hear a motion? No, I'd rather dot all the i's and cross all the t's.
Absolutely.
So, would you like to make a motion?
Absolutely. I motion that we go into executive session.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's it. We will move to executive session.